I used to say everyone is your teacher. Some will teach you how to be and some will teach you how not to be. And I still believe that. In fact, I think of the many years of my life that maybe I was under a coach or a teacher, and I was under a great teacher, and I was like, man, this guy's the best. He's my favorite teacher. And then I think about the times that I was forced to be under a teacher that was terrible. But the crazy thing is, in the long run, even the terrible teachers were teaching me what a terrible teacher looks like, how not to be a teacher. Later, I didn't know I would become a teacher, but later becoming a teacher, those teachers that were terrible are still my teachers, teaching me, how I shouldn't teach. But as I think about that, like, everyone is my teacher. Some will teach me how to be and some will teach me how not to be. There's a little problem that I also have recently seen that concerns me. And that is that a lot of young people, their teachers are the people they follow in like social media, or like their celebrities are their teachers. And so that got me thinking like, whoa, okay, like and it made me realize that I don't want to give everyone power of influence in my life. So even though I'm learning from those who did it right and learning from those who did it wrong, I'm not giving people power of influence. And the way that looks dangerously is like when somebody's angry about something and they're teaching you all the facts that they know about it. Like they're looking at what's happening in our world, and so they're bringing out all these facts, but they're angry about it. If you are giving them influence in your life, they are influencing you not only with information, but they're influencing you with how they feel about it. And now you are, if you allow yourself, you are replicating how they feel to the rest of your world. You've allowed how this person feels about this to become how you feel about it. And so it can be dangerous to let everybody be your teacher if you're allowing them to influence you. So it becomes more important that you don't allow everybody, even people that you agree with, to give you not only information, but how they feel about it, and then allow them to live vicariously through your life because you are now replicating how they feel about it. And what's happening in our world today is, people are getting increasingly angry and hateful for people that they don't agree with. When in a healthy environment, you would learn information, but there would be no influence of how that should make you feel. You would be able to show others what may be a healthy reaction to bad information looks like. You'd be able to show people what it looks like to take bad information from a healthy perspective, and how you have the power to encourage people around you, even in the midst of bad things. And so, yes, everybody is my teacher still. Some are teaching me how to be and some are teaching me how not to be. But no, everybody isn't my teacher in the sense of I allow them to have the power of influence in my life. And so you need to be careful who you're following and who you're getting your news from and your information from, because you are not only just being affected by what the facts are, you are also being influenced by how you should feel about that. And that can become a dangerous thing. And listen, I want to make this clear. That's also true in the Christian world. If a pastor's teaching truth, teaching the Bible, but he's angry about it, and the people that he's teaching are influenced and they're becoming increasingly angry about it, then they are not only learning, but they are also being influenced, right? Now, anger itself isn't necessarily bad, because the Bible says, be angry and do not sin. And so we learn that how we feel about something, we still have the choice of how we respond to how we feel. But most people today, they have no choice of how they're responding with how they feel. So if they're angry, there isn't still a dormant chance for them to choose how they're going to respond with that anger. The anger came in and now they're just responding with however they feel. But back to the point, the power of influence by your teachers can be a dangerous thing depending on who you're lending your ear to, and in a world with like internet, social media, YouTube, we have not only given people the opportunity to be a source of information, but we've given people opportunity to be a power of influence in our life of how we're supposed to feel about things.
And is that just discernment, like finding the right people to listen to versus the wrong people to listen to? Are you going at it with the same
question? Good question. How do we choose who we allow to have influence in our lives?
And how do you know which one's right and which one's wrong?
Yeah, right. This is my favorite musician. Maybe I should feel about war the way he feels about war, or whatever. Yeah. That's why I would say it's so important for people to read their Bibles, because when you read the Bible and when you read the scriptures, you grow in wisdom and discernment. And so now you're perceiving, you can understand why somebody feels strongly about something without necessarily replicating their same emotions, right? And so my wisdom comes from God, not from the smart people I talk to, right? And my power of influence is coming from me reflecting what I find from spending time with Christ and spending time in the Bible. And also, this kind of goes back to some of my other videos that you've heard me do about self-control, where to catch that moment right before you respond of how something that makes you upset, and to make a decision on how you respond based on the wisdom that you've obtained through your time spent following Jesus. So you're not a reactionist. A follower of Christ, a servant of God, shouldn't be a reactionist. You should be a person who's able to deal with how you feel about something and make a wise decision with that. Not just give people the button to push in your life, But yeah, I still maintain that everybody's my teacher in the sense of they're showing me how to do things and how not to do things. I have family members, right? A parent that showed me how to do things right, and a parent that showed me how not to do things right. And so I maintain that all people are teachers. But man, there's something crazy about because here's what's happening. There's people that I love that as they grow, they're sounding more and more like the people they follow on social media. And God made us to be an individual influence in the circle of people that he brings us to, and the circle of people that he brings to us. And he made us unique, where the Bible says that we're all uniquely and wonderfully made. And so God's orchestration of life is to bring people that are different together, and then they become a deeper understanding of life to each other. You might have had a friend when you were a kid and you thought, man, if I never would have had that friend, I never would have understood this thing about life or how people feel in this scenario. But imagine if you only chose to surround yourself, handpick people that already think like you, and now you're not leaving it up to who God brought into your life. You're just choosing to cut people out of your life who don't agree with you, and you're allowing whoever you follow, celebrity, singer, whatever, pastor even, to give to you how you feel about things. But your question, how do I know who to stop following then, And it's like, well, yeah, discernment is a big part of that, because your eyes are starting to get open. Hopefully that's what these videos are doing for people, is that you hear truth, and in your heart you hear the wisdom, and in your heart you think that's true. And hopefully it'll cause you to see the same thing that you've already been feeding yourself and question it, and be like, yeah, I'm not really sure that this person who's always feeding my rage about the other political party is really helping me grow. They're not helping me grow. Instead, they're just like the hamster wheel I'm in, And I don't want that for anybody that I love.